Before starting, I need to point out to people watching this live that I was in a motor vehicle accident several months ago and I'm still recovering. So if the right side of my body starts turbulent, please be patient. In some ways, it's appropriate to my topic. Radical self-love of the body as it is, even in times of disability. Radical self-love is a term I encountered very recently in a book entitled "The Body is Not an Apology: The Power of Radical Self-Love" by Sonya Renee Taylor. I might describe it as radical love of families, of communities, of God, with the essence that makes all of the rest real in the middle. Love of self, the physical body self. Without radical self-love, we may continue fighting crusades forever. We may continue race and gender conflicts forever. But we won't find the real love of which we talk so much and do so little. Perhaps, excuse me. Yeah. Okay. Perhaps it's the time of year, but the darkness seems obvious. Ecologically, politically, economically. Whether one observes the mood of Christmas, the light of the solstice, or any of the other seasonal holidays, now is the time to reach for a small but bright light of hope, to begin dispelling the darkness of despair. I personally happen to remember that light in Quranic language. One verse of light. I'll say it in Arabic first because that's how I remember it. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahu nuru samawati wal ard. Mithlu nurihi مشكاة في المصباح والمصباح في زجاجة كأنها كوكب مبين يوقد من شجرة مباركة مكنونة لا شرقية ولا غربية لا يكيدها ولا يكيدها نوري على نور نور على نور يد الله لنوره من يشاء ويضرب الله الأمثال للناس والله بكل شيء عليم. So I'm a little nervous. I didn't remember it. But now, before giving the English translation, I need to explain that I don't speak Arabic. I have an Arab name because my father was in the Moorish Science Temple, a precursor to the Nation of Islam. I embraced Islam in my early 30s and set about studying with a zeal, which is where the memory of this verse comes from. But something else happened in the midst of my studies. I took it as the voice of God saying, if I had wanted you to speak Arabic, I'd have had your mother speaking Arabic when you were born. I love your himma. Your aspiration, though, the voice continued. Do not slack off of your hymn, your aspiration, but keep in mind what I have said. What I have come to understand since is that my words must be embodied in their own time, place, and culture if they are to be understood, even just by me. So now here's my English translation. God is the light of the heavens and the earth. The metaphor of that light is like a niche within which is a lamp. The lamp is within a glass. The glass is like a glittering star, lit from a blessed olive tree, whose oil is neither from east nor from west. The oil almost gives off light without fire touching it. Light upon light. God guides to that light whom he wills, whom God wills, and uses metaphors to do so. And God is the knower of all things. The light in this verse came in handy just the other day. I was in a discussion with a friend about Lot and Noah, the stories of Sodom and Gomorrah and of the Great Flood. Early versions of such stories make it obvious that they were just stories. They are not narrations of embodied events. The protagonist in each story literally gets drunk afterwards. And the resulting entire stories have led to centuries of racial and gender violence, as if the societies under that influence got drunk also. Scriptural scholarship has papered over such things for centuries, but the problems are obvious. When Lot gets drunk twice, for instance, innocently, by the way, because his daughters were wielding the booze, he commits incest unknowingly and impregnates each of his two daughters. I don't know about when this story was first told, but illicit sex between supposed caregivers and in-family minors is a big problem today. There was no rain cloud of death from the heavens, as it was just previously for the presumably gender non-binary Sodom and Gomorrah. And all of a sudden, one understands why Lot had offered his daughters as a substitute for the unwelcome strangers. Women are for making babies, even if it involves getting incessantly drunk and breaking all of the rules. Welcome to gender hell. When Noah gets drunk, his story is even worse in terms of current time, place, and body details. Once he gets drunk, we learn that he has 3 sons. One is the progenitor of an African race, one is the progenitor of an Asian race, one is the progenitor of a European race. Well, what race was Noah? Both he and Mrs. Noah were white, at least according to the movie. Welcome to racial hell. This is why I stick with imagery, such as the metaphor of light. Every culture has its metaphors and its stories. The idea is to shine a light upon the metaphors and stories, to find and learn from the one behind all of them, rather than getting stuck in a specific story and its metaphorical details. Stories and metaphors are made of words, and what is being described is beyond words, particularly written ones. Interpretations of Scripture that are written in nature can be just as problematic as interpretations of Scripture written in books, by the way. I say this based on 5 successive 15-year dedications to different traditions. The first 15 years of my life were in the Black church, where my Black body learned what Dr. Leticia Nieto has called my survival skills in her book, Beyond Inclusion, Beyond Empowerment, a development strategy to liberate everyone. The second 15 years were Roman Catholicism, where I was, people were mostly white, so I learned what she calls confusion skills. The third 15 years were as a Muslim, where I learned empowerment skills, because so many people were dark-skinned. Dark skin is not the same as Black culture. So I learned strategy skills in my fourth 15 years as a musical storyteller, immersed in the indigenous traditions of Africa and the Americas, learning from other Black and red people who had been oppressed. My fifth and current 15 years presents recentering skills in Black religion, which includes everything I have been through and more. As Sierra Clinton wrote, Black religion then cuts across denominational, cult, and sect lines to do for Black people what other religions have not done. To assume the Black man's and woman's humanity, their relevance, their responsibility, their participation, and their right to see themselves as the image of God. That, of course, is the essence of religion, period. The essence of life I literally cannot add myself without adding everyone else as well. It turns out that I need to attribute my addition 100% to Reverend Dr. Dorsey Blake, who introduced me to his work based on the mystical Reverend Howard Thurman, and to the Black religion and womanist work of Reverend Dr. James Noel, based on the seminal research and analysis of Dr. Charles H. Long. The point for now is that we are talking about a fellowship of all peoples, which was what Thurman started. Continuing that thread means that we stop fighting over the words so that we can come together beneath what is behind them, which brings us back to radical self-love. It is the same love that we aspire to practice with everyone we encounter. It's got to start with ourselves first, however, or it's not real. If it doesn't start with ourselves, it's just competition. It's just one-upsmanship. It's more about changing people than it is about accepting and loving anyone or anything for that matter. That's why radical self-love is radical. We don't change to please others. We are all pleasing ourselves. And the selves cease to be individuals. God is love, and we are God. So we are love as well. Not just soul, but bodies too. The focus on bodies keeps it from being an abstract visualization. It's not easy either, as the present world situation makes clear. Dr. Gabor Mate has written how reconnecting to the body may hold the key to addictions. Dr. Peter Levine has written that it holds the key to trauma recovery. Reconnecting to the body is the challenge of life. It also appears to be the gift of life. Or perhaps the gift usually answers the challenge in unexpected ways. As Thomas A. Dorsey put it, the Lord will make a way somehow. The song lyrics are full of metaphors. Singers often change them to ones they like better, but the song is still the same. The message is still the same. As my mother used to say, it's always darkest before the dawn. What she didn't add was that the dawn requires an effort, even if it's just getting up early enough to see it. Reverend Dr. Matthew Fox's creation spirituality connects to the body as well. It seems to remind us that those who seek a Christian empire seem to have lost touch with the Jesus story. Perhaps it can be said in every religion that the seekers of empire have lost touch with the radical self-love and the founding spirit of religion. The winter solstice is past. The light is dawning. A way has been made. It will take radical self-love to follow it. Call an end to body shame and terrorism, radical self-love, or call it something else. Despite all of the different words, there is just one story, one child, one prophet, one Ashe, one self. Liberation is the opportunity for every human, no matter their body, to have unobstructed access to their highest self. For every human to live in radical self-love.